Hi, everyone. Lauren Culp here, publisher and CEO at CUInsight.com. And I am joined today by a very special guest, the President and Director of Client Strategy for Momentum, Mark Alguard. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing good, and thanks for being with us. We're super excited about this, although obviously the sort of circumstances around the content that we're talking about today could be a lot better, but I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. We know that these are really difficult times, so I'm curious what Momentum is doing to support credit unions and their members during this
Sure.
crisis.
So the first thing we did was we huddled and came to the realization that our credit union partners needed to focus internally, that all of their attention was going to go on their internal teams and operations and crisis response. And so we thought, what can we do to make that easier for them? And it really was, we wanted to make sure that their work with us, and we do construction projects and design projects, so they're fairly complex, large projects. We wanted to make sure that those could go in their eyes on autopilot so that they really just could turn even less attention than normal to our work so they could focus on their own team. And so what we did was we wanted to just really heighten the communication. So we're trying to kind of anticipate the questions they might have, their boards of directors might have, right? What are they going to be worried about? Anticipate those questions and answer them so they don't even have to ask. But then also kind of do some scenario planning and think about, okay, what could become a problem in this situation on our projects? Let's make sure that we have a contingency plan in place, and let's make sure we share that with the credit union. So again, they don't have to worry about us. They can focus on their new work from home strategy, keeping people safe, keeping members satisfied, and supporting them in a hard time. So I think so. That was the initial response, and now I've noticed, right, things are evolving. There's a phase 2 and a phase 3 even, and so from there it was really in our normal conversations. We wanted them to know, okay, hey, we're a resource. We're available for you. I mean, we're an expert in the built environment, right? So in the earlier part of the crisis, it was in giving advice around the branches. What are some quick changes we could make to the layouts that would help you service members more in a safer way? Or what are barriers we can install perhaps in the branches again, or around ITMs or ATMs to provide some more protection for users. And now we've kind of even evolved even further. Credit unions are thinking about maybe a return to the home office, right? And there's this concept, the 6-foot office, right? So how can we help them lay their offices out a little bit differently so that they can have social distancing in the office? So we've been doing some diagrams and maps, helping them look at the furniture they have. Usually it's a systems furniture. How can we kind of break this apart and rearrange it? But even other things like looking at HVAC systems, there's certain things you can do to enhance the air quality. And I think lastly, something I find kind of fun and interesting and I think important. In fact, your old organization has done a webinar and written some papers on this, just thinking about remote work, right? At finally is who I'm referring to. So now that we go from crisis mode into maybe a semi-permanent or even permanent situation where team members are working from home, how can we be more strategic about it, right? So helping them think about ways to support really great remote work. So.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like you all have your hands full, a lot going on with the Momentum team.
No, which is good. It's good to be busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think it's so great to hear about the ways that you're helping to sort of support credit unions as they're transitioning to what you've called the 6-foot workspace or 6-foot office. So great to hear. I'm sure that they could, so many of us have never done this before. All of us have never done this before. So it's great to be an expert to rely on.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking ahead, obviously we're seeing all of these impacts now in the short term. I'm curious, how do you think that this is going to affect credit unions in the way that we all do business in the long run?
Right. I do think that there will be long-term permanent shifts in the built environment for credit unions. So both in, the work from the home office headquarters environment, but also in the branch environment. So what we want to do, and what I think is that as those shifts are made, the credit unions are going to want to be mindful about making decisions that will rectify a short-term situation, but might be detrimental in the long term, or that might be really expensive or hard to unwind a couple years from now, when maybe the need for social distancing in those environments isn't so critical. So I think that we just talk about your home corporate office environment. We have evidence, we've seen data that shows that credit unions on average, compared to other for-profit organizations, other businesses, are a little bit less flexible or less prepared for remote work, right? Or untethered work. So that don't quite have the mobile technology in place. But I think even more importantly, the norms and the culture don't support it maybe as well as they could. And I think that is probably a shift that's going to be permanent and good for credit unions, are more robust structures that support remote work or working from home, right? But I also, and this will depend for every organization, but I don't anticipate that the majority or all credit union workers are going to move to work from home all the time. There's a lot of reasons for that. We're social beings. People really want to go to work and connect with people. Right. It's hard to be engaged when you're working from home. It's really hard to manage people when they're working from home and you don't see them, because so much of management is ad hoc and it's really quick kind of snippets of advice and feedback and questions. So I don't see a wholesale shift, but what I do see is, for example, Mark, I'm going to work from home twice a week, right? And those 2 days a week, I'm going to work on focused cognitive tasks. And the other 3 days a week, I'm going to be in the office, and the organization is going to be totally fine with that. That's great. It's acceptable. And when I'm at home and someone needs me, they're just going to hit me up on Slack. And if there happens to be a team meeting where on a day I'm at home, I'll call in on Zoom. I'll be right there, and no problem. That'll be the norm, right? So I think that's kind of if I were to forecast the future of work for credit unions, that's what I'm hoping they shift to, and I think they will shift to. Branches may be a little different. I think people are going to become so well trained on how to do their banking from home, right? I mean, even once the stay-at-home orders are lifted, I think folks are going to go to the ends of the earth to avoid going to a bricks and mortar retail unless they have to, right? So your members are going to be utilizing all these video tools, I'm sure, that are getting put in place right now. And then they're going to be staying away. But when the credit unions, a year from now start to want to really execute on their strategic plans again, how do you grow market share? How do you get into a new market without a physical location? It's really, really hard to do. And just because a couple of digital banks have been able to do it doesn't mean that all the credit unions would be able to do it as well. So I think, and so that's, it really kind of depends on where was your branch in the first place, right? So I think that finally there's going to be this complete shift of the purpose of a branch to a smaller footprint, relationship-based, advisory-based, almost like a market. The purpose is marketing yourself, right? And having that tangible connection. It's just a complete shift away from the transactional nature of the branches. So
Right.
Nothing earth-shattering. I think if people are making earth-shattering prognostications right now, they just don't have the data yet. And we're just getting into it. So anyway.
That's so true. Well, so many good insights. And I love hearing about, I definitely too feel the lack of social interaction. I wish that I was at conferences. And so I can definitely see where people would want to get back to that sort of work environment too.
Sure. Yeah. We have, Gosh, in our office in downtown Seattle, we have 15 people who come in every day, and we've kind of pulled people, who wants to get back, and 14 out of those 15 want to be back every single day. They are just dying to get back into the office. But I think some people that are like, yeah, a day or two a week,
Yep.
avoiding the horrible traffic and having that little extra time and ability to focus at home. People cherish that too. And people are learning a lot about themselves and how adaptable they are. And so, myself included, I didn't like to work from home, and now I know I miss a lot of it.
Yeah.
I made bacon for lunch twice last week, and you can't make bacon at your office in downtown
True.
Seattle, right?
That's
So I
perfect.
don't know how I would do that.
Maybe a toaster oven or something.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Toasted bacon is good.
Yeah, yeah. The whole office would smell like it though. Oh, well, that's so interesting to hear all of your insights. And I definitely can hear where, these earth-shattering predictions, we just don't have the data for yet. So it sounds like you've got a lot of really well-supported thoughts about where credit unions may be going in the long run.
Thank you.
I want to switch gears a little bit now. I'm curious, how are you doing personally? What's been keeping you sane, if you are sane, during what are some really trying times?
Yeah, gosh, it is a lot of stuff I think that you're reading about other people doing to stay sane, and it's working. I work off my dining room table, and I look out at my patio and my garden, and one thing I've been doing lately is chasing rabbits a lot. All of a sudden there's a bunch of, so that I actually enjoy chasing the rabbits out of my yard. I'm kind of joking, but it's
That's awesome.
I've never noticed the nature in my neighborhood so much as I
Right.
have now. Like I'll spend a lot of time working outside, listening to the birds, doing yard work. Yeah, I just found out that the squirrels can jump from my house to a fence that's like 15 feet away.
Wow.
So it's I don't know. I'm enjoying the slower pace of things to an extent, and if it wasn't for all the hardship and suffering that so many people are going through right now, I mean, I'd be enjoying this more. But it's different, and I think what's kept me sane really is just relaxing my own expectations on what's gonna needs to happen, right? Just being okay with just kind of going with the flow,
Right.
because there's nothing I can do to change to change this right now. So yeah,
I absolutely understand that. There are a lot of rabbits in my backyard as well.
you're
So
there.
but I haven't chased them away yet. I'll have to start trying to do that.
Well, it's when, yeah, I don't know. It's when they start to eat things and burrow into your pot.
Right.
I had one the other day that said it wants to live inside of a pot, a patio pot. I'm like, how
Oh,
is that
sure.
going to work? But
Right. Right. Well, the squirrels need to, yeah, go find a home somewhere else.
yeah, right.
All the rabbits, yeah. Well, Mark, do you have any last thoughts that you would like to share with our audience today before we wrap up?
You know, the only one is kind of goes back to what I was just saying is that if you're a glass is half full kind of person, I think that's okay. You don't need to be guilty about it. It's okay if you find some good things in this, right? I think that's kind of what keeps your mood up, and it helps the mood of other people, right? And so yeah, like I said, there's so much hardship right now, but I think by people keeping positive and embracing what's good, that'll help kind of everyone come together and get through this. So it's okay to to be happy and find joy in this time too. So
Well, perfect way to wrap up today. Thank you so much for spending some great time with me. It was so good to hear about all of the things that you all are working on at Momentum, as well as your sort of thoughts for the future for credit unions.
thank you.
I will link to Momentum's page in the post here if anybody has any more questions or would like to learn more information about the great work you all do. I will make sure that you all can access it in the post. And again, Mark, thank you so much for your time.
All right, thanks, Lauren. I appreciate it.
Thanks. All right. Take care. Hopefully we'll run into each other in person someday soon.
Yeah, soon, I hope. Okay.
Me too. All right. Thank you. Take care.